There's a wide choice of CPE. GSA has now catalogued 22 form factors, everything from drones, modules to head-mounted displays, laptops and tablets to robots and hotspots, TVs and cameras. Phones and indoor and outdoor fixed wireless access CPE continue to be the most prevalent 5G devices. There are 596 announced 5G phones catalogued, up to more than 100% since the end of last year, and 530 commercially available models. We're tracking over 200 5G fixed wireless access devices now, 128 indoor and 79 outdoor, and the number of announced fixed wireless access CPE models is up more than 90% in a year, and there are now nearly 197 commercially available 5G fixed wireless access CPE devices that we're aware of. Number of suppliers is growing too. GSA has catalogued more than 170 vendors who have announced available or forthcoming 5G devices, and over 120 who've launched commercially available devices. 48 vendors have now produced or announced plans to produce 5G phones, and GSA has identified 40 vendors with commercially available 5G phones. Meanwhile, 71 vendors have announced plans to produce their own indoor or outdoor 5G fixed wireless access CPE devices, and 41 vendors have fixed wireless access CPE devices that are already commercially available. Looking now at spectrum support in those chipsets and devices, 55 of the 5G chipsets that are catalogued are supporting 5G services in sub-6 GHz spectrum, and 36 are catalogued as supporting 5G services using millimeter wave spectrum. Millimeter wave capability in chipsets is improving steadily. Meanwhile, device support is more focused on sub-6 GHz so far. Availability of information about spectrum supported devices is improving as more become commercially available. We've identified some spectrum support information for over 85% of announced devices, and 82.1% of all announced 5G devices are identified as supporting sub-6 gigahertz bands. Sorry, I got my tongue tangled there. And 12.4% of them are understood to support millimeter wave spectrum. Just under 10% are known to support both. Perhaps unsurprising, given the focus of regulators on releasing C-band spectrum for 5G and the fact that C-band spectrum is most used around the world in initial 5G deployments, C-band spectrum is most supported in announced 5G devices, with both sides of the ecosystem working to support each other, closely followed by 2.5 gigahertz. So the bands most known to be supported by all announced 5G devices are N78, N41, and N1, with over 800 devices now identified as supporting band N78. This is a good choice of devices when you're looking at the mainstream bands. GSA is also tracking various capabilities of 5G chipsets and devices, including their support for 5G standalone networks. We mentioned earlier that there's a lot of investment going into 5G standalone now. GSA has catalogued 54 mobile processors or platforms or discrete modems that have been announced as supporting 5G standalone, nearly 85% of all the commercially available 5G chipsets. Half of those are phones, 20% are fixed wireless access CPE and modules. And with 5G standalone networks just beginning to be launched, GSA is already aware of 663 announced devices with claimed support for 5G standalone, up 137% from just over 220 at the end of last year. And of those, 461 are already commercially available, up 162% from December 2020. Typically, a software upgrade might be required to enable 5G standalone in a device that's already been pushed out to customers. With 5G standalone, new investment in voice services, seemingly the uninteresting element of mobile services for technology marketeers and commentators in recent years, becomes important again. Voice over new radio will be critical to enable voice services for users. And GSA has recorded 38 commercially available chipsets with stated support for voice over new radio, and 29 mobile processors and platforms supporting voice over new radio and 9 discrete modems. Those chipsets are powering 45 announced devices supporting voice over new radio, 24 of them known to be commercially available. Just over half of those are modules. about 38% fixed wireless access CPE, and 7% phones.